So I just wanted to post a quick video on the actual setup of the game. Um, so this is all the pieces and everything, and the notebook has the rules and such, but the actual rule book has some diagrams and stuff for setting up the game, so this will just kind of help with that. The big boom bag here, it has a bunch of tiles in it. There are 4 extra C tiles over here. Those just kind of are for some random events and stuff. But for setting up the game, you start in the middle. For a 2 to 3 player game, you just it's basically 2 layers of hexes. So they all go face down. You just kind of put them in a circle like this. I have it so that they should, for the most part, kind of snap in place. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So this is set up for a 2 or 3 player game. For a 4 player game, you actually do 1 more layer around, and then I have it so that the special handouts there actually, if you just kind of leave them where they're at, they don't overlap with a 4 player game of hex tiles, and so then you can just flip them and whatnot. One of the things that you should do, actually I didn't do, but you should do before you do this, is just shuffle the bag, make sure that they're in a good random order or whatever. And see, there's a nice little gap between these guys, so you can just kind of hover over them, flip them, and see all the things for the special events and stuff. And then each player obviously sits down. These are your markers. If you don't like it, I just have some default ones because they just kind of go with the colors that there naturally are. I did put a couple of extra ones in here. If you don't like your color, I made it so that there's 4 other ones in here. So there's like a pink one, an orange one, a purple one, and a yellow one. So if you don't like these, you can just pick a different color. Whoever is hosting the game can then just delete all these or whatever and copy and paste a whole bunch of whatever the new color is that the other person wants to play. So that's what these extra pieces are up here in the corner. So then setting up the game, if it's a 4 player game, you deal, first things first is everybody picks a hex kind of on one of the corner, you stick a marker on it and say, okay, this is where I'm going to kind of start working. And then you kind of go around in a circle after, and this is after you decide who goes first, and you work around in a circle. Each player picks kind of a hex, and you do it actually one at a time. They have to be adjoining. So like, even though this was the first one that blue picked, this was the second one. This was the first one that blue picked. This was the second one. I could go here to kind of spread towards the middle, but I could also just kind of stay at the side if I wanted to. And even though this is adjacent to the one that he picked, it's not adjacent to the first one, but it is still adjacent to one that he has picked. There we go. So that's kind of how this goes. And then once you've all picked kind of 3 hex tiles, you flip them over here, see what kind of land each player has and controls. So this is kind of everybody's thing. Nothing. This one is a C, so this person can actually just pick another adjacent tile there. And so then they would get this one, and the C is exposed. So because you can't control the C. So then after that, everybody gets dealt 10. It's 10 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then everybody can look at their things and see what they've got and all that. So now everybody sees what they have. Oh, I didn't shuffle these. Shuffle them before you do that, but whatever. This is just explaining how it kind of sets up. So everybody gets 10 things. You pick your spots. And then you say, okay, well, this person goes, well, I've got all these desert creatures and all these swamp creatures. I have desert and swamp, so all these creatures will fight for me. I have desert and swamp creatures. I have a swamp, but no desert creature. So these 5 creatures won't fight for this player. So before you've even done anything here, you're kind of looking to see like what you can and can't control. I go, well, let's see, this Sphinx is really strong, so I eventually will probably get a desert, so maybe I'll keep that one. These other ones are pretty disposable. So I'm going to say, okay, well, before we even get started, I can do a one-to-one trade for things, because I'm like, well, I can't use these. I can't use these. I don't have any deserts to control them, so I'm going to pick 4 more things out of the cup and put these ones back. So draw first. What's that red? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put them back, and then shuffle. So then they have 4 more things. So that's kind of how this setup process works here. And then after that, you decide, okay, well, I'm going to put this on the board, I'm going to put this on the board, and this on the board. I'm going to put these guys all on like this hex. I'm going to put these ones over here, and I'm going to put these ones over here. So that's kind of how you have deployed your Ragtag army. So this player controls a swamp, so all of these creatures are all swamp creatures, so they will all fight for him, even though you're not on the actual swamp. They'll still fight for you because you control the swamp. And same goes forth for mountain, plains, forest, desert creatures, and jungle creatures and the like. So that's kind of the original setup of the game. So everybody, and then everybody gets 1 tower to begin with. So everybody takes their tower, sticks it on a hex that they control. So basically, how this has gone, everybody's been dealt creatures. You get to decide who fights for you. You get to do a 1-to-1 return. You get a tower and put it on a hex that you've controlled. Players go around and around in the player order that they've determined to pick hexes that they're going to do. Nothing can be adjacent to each other. That's more of a thing in a 3-player game, where you only have this inner layer and then you've got 3 players. So then, like, putting things, like, you have to have a layer of kind of blue between, so you can't actually immediately directly attack another player. And then the last thing that you kind of want to do for setup is, just actually shake the random heroes. Just give them a good toss in the air and shake them up, just because they are double-sided. So you want to make sure that you get kind of a random array of who's going to be what, because that does matter later on, and these are going to be the heroes that people can roll for in the recruit heroes phase. So I think that's pretty much it, and then you kind of go down the sequence of play in the turn order of the players that you have selected. So that's kind of a 4-player game setup. Again, the 2- or 3-player game setup has just 1 less layer of hexes, but otherwise the process is the same. And then the rest of the rules are in the rulebook. So that's just a quick little overview of how to get the game going. Hope this helps. Enjoy. It's a lot of fun.